I have returned to fix an injustice. That injustice being that so many of my childhood friends have no idea what Cats Don't Dance is. So, even if only a few of them learn about this movie through this video, the Final Destination logs can finally take me out. Which of the top two tiers did Cats Don't Dance land in on the RMC tier list? Let's jump right in and find out. Cats Don't Dance came out in 1997, bogged down by a merger between Turner Feature and Warner Brothers. It did not get the marketing it deserved and criminally made back little over 10% of its budget. A major shame, in my opinion, because this movie was the very last film that Gene Kelly worked on as a choreographer before his passing in 1996. I'm unaware if he ever got to see a finished product, especially due to the ridiculous executive meddling that followed this film. Allegedly, one executive at Warner Brothers was quoted to have said he didn't want this film to outdo them and their first animated film, Quest for Camelot. But if anyone knows about if Gene saw the movie or not, sound off in the comments. And yes, I will eventually watch Quest for Camelot on this channel. Another strange fun fact is that Michael Jackson, yes, the king of pop himself, was originally attached to Cats Don't Dance. And I'll say it, I like his music videos, all that, but the original plan with Michael was a live-action animated film, I assume similar in the vein to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And my bias towards the final product may be coming into play here, but seeing what we have now, I can't say if this movie would be considered the way it is if he had starred, produced, and choreographed it. There's a charm of Cats Don't Dance that is very obviously influenced by Hollywood of the 30s, maybe some 40s and 50s. The music, the discrimination, the fanfare, and put your pitchforks down as I say this, I don't think MJ would have pulled it off.
I said what I said. Okay.
The movie opens with some narration. Narration that we will never hear again, by the way. It gives a brief intro to our main character and the villain, Danny and Darla, respectively. As Danny leaves his hometown of Kokomo, we're immediately brought into the first song of the movie. And as a preface, I won't be going over every song and what I think about them in this review. But you must be saying, why? These songs are amazing. And that is exactly why. Every single song in Cats Don't Dance is amazing. In my opinion, some of Randy Newman's best work in any animated film he has worked on. If I pointed out every single song in this movie, the amount of glaze could keep a donut shop open for years. So I'll say it now. Separate from the movie, the soundtrack is an absolute 10 out of 10. No skips, infinitely repeatable perfection. My personal favorites being Our Time Has Come, Tell Me Lies, and Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. Danny arrives at the Chinese theater after his long trip from Kokomo to Tinseltown, where we briefly see another character that will appear, Pudge. Side note, for years as a kid, I thought his full name was People Punch Me and that was some type of joke. It wasn't. His full name is Peebo Pudgemeyer. This is like the Thackeray versus Zachary Binks all over again for me. But during this entire scene, as Danny makes his way to an animal actors agency, he is also making Sawyer's Morning a living hell. But it's also here where we meet the rest of the amazing cast. Tilly Hippo, T.W. Turtle, Cranston Goat, Francis Albacore. One of the major charms of this movie is how well all these characters pair up together. Some standouts being Scott Bakula as Danny, who I don't think I've heard sing in any other movie, but does great even paired next to Natalie Cole, who is Sawyer's singing voice. You have Jasmine Guy as the speaking voice of Sawyer, which, if you're an 80s or 90s kids, you have most likely seen or heard her somewhere in your life. And finally, my personal favorite, Kathy Najimy, who is perfection in this role, who made every single joke land.
Don't mind him, Danny. He was just leaving.
Tilly introduces Danny to the other actors, and Danny, bless his idealistic heart, has no idea what is waiting for him in this area of Hollywood. He's given an acting job by Farley Wink to play, you guessed it, a cat. And he signs a contract. And if there's anything my years of obsession with old Hollywood during high school and college has taught me, those contracts might as well be signed in blood. Sawyer finally arrives at the office after the series of unfortunate events by the name of Danny, and she still can't catch a break because he opens the door and she gets smacked in the face as he exits the office with Farley. To make matters worse for her, she makes a deal with Farley to act in a movie, and guess who her partner is? Honestly, an orange tabby cat was the perfect cat to make Danny, because the absolute obliviousness, the himbo energy he carries is hilarious. He even slams her tail in the door before they leave. A black cat could cross her path, and her luck would only improve in relation to her proximity to Danny. Danny and Sawyer make their way to the studio lot, and I would be remiss not to mention the state of the animal actors in this version of Hollywood. Something I didn't pay the slightest attention to growing up, but is an excellent setup for the troubles that animals face in this world, and clearly parallels issues in Hollywood back then in our world. Then Danny comes in talking about how it's great they'll be the only two cats on the ark, and boy,
If you don't get...
I have no words. On set, Danny is met with the reality of people, well, animals, like him. In Sawyer's own words, this town has rules. Cats say meow. Danny, in all his optimism, doesn't grasp the meaning behind her words, and based on what the creators were clearly going for with this film, I can't imagine that it wasn't intentional that Danny, stars in his eyes, head in the clouds, represents many a young upstart that thinks if you just work hard that all your dreams will come true. Everyone will welcome you with open arms, even though your antics are shaking up the hierarchy that they are very comfortable with keeping in place.
Meow. Meow. You ain't never meow. Meow, see? Yeah, that's it. Meow, meow.
No orange cat has ever orange cat as hard as Danny has. It's moments like this in the movie that show, even though there's an underlining commentary, the jokes still can make me laugh without hitting me with major mood whiplash. We finally meet this film's villain. They did Shirley Temple so wrong. I know her character is also supposed to be mixed with the character from the film Sunset Boulevard, who also had a butler named Max, but the image is all Shirley. Darla is a loud, spoiled brat, and that's putting it extremely nicely. Grown adults fear this child when a good kick would send her into the stratosphere. I am not advocating the kicking of children in general, just this child in particular. She's a cartoon. Relax. You all know you want to. And Danny, ever broadening his horizons, decides that he'll give Sawyer a break and instead send some misfortune over to the spawn of Satan Darla instead, and that causes her to yell for her bodyguard, Max. For years, I thought Max was an oversized gorilla or ape of some sort, but upon doing research for this movie, apparently he isn't. He's just a human, just a giant human, not a part of the ape family at all. He's a human being holding an adult cat in his fist like he's a tube of toothpaste, and that somehow makes it more terrifying. But funny enough, he's voiced by the film director Mark Dindal, and even though that wasn't originally planned and had more to do with budget, I think it's great. He's arguably one of the most quotable characters in the entire movie. Max ends up thumb slapping Danny to the ground, and then he just disappears in a fog through the max size entryway he made. The rest of the animal actors laugh it up at Danny's expense, but even though he's sad, his optimism doesn't die off until Sawyer gives him a talking to.
Danny, they don't care.
Pudge manages to lift his spirits and they stumble upon Wooly the mammoth. Wooly is the mascot of Mammoth Pictures, but like all the other animals in Hollywood, had bigger dreams of being a musician. It's here that Danny realizes that all the animals he's become somewhat close to, Sawyer, Tilly, TW, Cranston, Francis, were all crushed by the Hollywood machine and left with bit parts. But Danny has an idea to bring the fire back into them. The next scene is a musical number, and before you say, you said you weren't going to talk about the songs, this part in particular has to do with the animation of the scene. Danny, with the help of Pudge and Wooly, performs this instrumental heavy moment, but the highlight is how as the music takes control of the animals, their muted coloring becomes vibrant. It's literally bringing the shine back into their life. And you'll occasionally see this in 2D animation where a person, animal, object seems to get less dull or their color alters as they become the subject of the scene. There's a process that animators use, and while I don't know if they did that here, it's still a very well done scene. Even Sawyer catches the color bug, and Max the Terrifier himself catches a groove. It's just a great scene with great references and comedy that I couldn't pass over because there was a song in it. After Danny voices his thoughts on getting an audition with LB Mammoth, Darla invites him over to her home, where she bites the heads off of animal crackers in front of him and puts all the blame on Max for thumb slapping Danny through the concrete, as if she didn't sick her attack ape-like bodyguard on him. How Danny didn't notice the reddening eyes and the face twitching as she tries to help him with LB Mammoth is a conundrum. Danny, this child is evil. Run. She even calls her lies of helping him out charitable work. Practically every animal in Hollywood is on set for their big performance, and as they're all getting ready, Sawyer arrives. She is rightfully skeptical and wondering how Danny managed to get a meeting with LB, but Danny tells her that a little angel helped him out. Yes, Danny, a fallen one. His idealism and the inability to see the bad in anyone are both endearing and frustrating. But Sawyer begrudgingly agrees, and all the animals jump into the ark. But in the darkness, Max lurks behind Pudge, and I think we all know what's coming next. Darla has Max cause a storm on the set, and the flood makes its way out onto the studio lot, wreaking havoc on everything in its path. It ends just as you expected it, LB banning all the animals in Hollywood from ever working with them again. And then Darla shows up, and that's when everyone realizes that Danny's little angel was her. Danny finally has his eyes opened to the darkness of Hollywood, and this is what finally crushes him. Sawyer, Tilly, Cranston, Francis, and TW all sit at the diner complaining about Danny and how he ruined their already miserable lives. And why did I say I wouldn't talk about any of the songs? I am so stupid. I am so sorry. Tell me lies. However, what I can talk about while the song plays is the contrast between Danny and Sawyer. No, it's not cheating. And frankly, I don't care what any of you say. Danny is broken. We see him packing up in his apartment, walking in the rain while trying to catch a trolley, even sadly revisiting the Chinese theater and reminiscing on the short time he had with the other animals. And Sawyer. Danny has resigned from Hollywood life, but in contrast, Sawyer has gotten stronger. She's already been beaten down before, but this time she decides she's worth standing up for, and Danny's dreams are too. Danny gets on the bus while Sawyer just barely misses him, and this dumbass bus driver won't shut up about how animals don't belong in movies, blah blah blah. This is why his stupid bus is empty. He's driving while eating a messy, disgusting looking sandwich, and he has the audacity to talk down to anyone. He plays his part well, and that's why I hate him. But somehow, his idiotic rambling seemingly gives Danny an epiphany while he stares out the window. So, thanks for that, I guess, jerk. After leaving the bus, Danny runs to Pudge, and they're seen breaking in to the publicity office to add their friends' names to the Little Archangel premiere. Danny, seeing that everyone has arrived, starts up his plan, but Max sees them and he goes all Hulk smash at the both of them. This is low-key unsettling. I think this is the first time we've seen Max smile, and I don't like it. Danny manages to repel Max, but the premiere is pretty much over, and the crowd is already leaving the theater. Completely wrecked, Danny still makes it on stage and sets his plan in motion. He lies to the crowd, claiming Darla has planned a surprise all-animal performance for them, even casually outing her involvement in the flooding of the studio lot. But when he calls on his friends in the audience, nothing. Darla gets a moment to gloat until Sawyer appears, showing Danny that they are there for him, even if most of them are currently being held hostage by, in Francis' words, a mad hippo. As Cranston, Francis, and TW struggle and complain, Danny hits them with a line that stops everything. If you're willing to accept what they think of you, then you can go. When they don't leave, he asks the real question: why are you still here? It's a question anyone chasing a dream has faced, because even when everything feels impossible, the feeling they had when they performed never really left, and some part of them still wants it back, and that is why they stayed. While the animals do their performance, Darla tries to sabotage it at every step, but her attempts only make the performance even more enjoyable and elaborate for the audience, and literally blows the roof off the place. The entire scene is gold. The animation, the coloring, the song. Darla, in all her evil doppelganger of Shirley Temple rage, runs her mouth a little too much because she doesn't realize a mic is over her head and makes it 100% clear that she flooded the stage and wrecked LB's lot. She tries to play it off, but of course it's too late, and Pudge sends her back down down a trapdoor. The crowd erupts in cheers, and the performers celebrate their newfound fame. Sawyer, having gotten the checklist Danny left behind at the bus stop, starts to check off everything he accomplished, even adding one herself: get the girl. And right before they share a kiss, Flanagan interrupts them, and they end up kissing him instead. Ugh. LB does a 180 and pulls them all into one picture and states that they'll be making history, and based on the credits, they appear in animal versions of Hollywood classics like Singing in the Rain, Casablanca, and Free Tilly. Their dreams finally having come true. The end. After rewatching, I had a deeper understanding of some of the themes that I missed as a kid, who only enjoyed the basics of the plot, the comedy, and the music. Cats Don't Dance not only holds up, it stands the test of time. It had no marketing, got lost in the fray of a merger where it was pushed to the back burner, but the director and the writers made gold, and I'm disappointed that more people don't know about this movie and missed out on seeing it in their childhood. It wasn't all bad. It was nominated for 8 Annie Awards and won 2, beating out Disney's Hercules for Best Animated Feature and being the first non-Disney film to win in both the categories. But it was also nominated for Stinker's Bad Movie Awards, which I didn't know was a thing. But they also don't exist anymore, so ha. This is all to say that Cats Don't Dance becomes the first movie to reach the top spot on the tier list. Formative cinema. I hadn't seen this movie in years, but it remains quotable, funny, and it never felt like a chore to get through. The characters are all amazing, and there's a new appreciation of the plot as an adult. So, congratulations to Cats Don't Dance. I think it deserves to be the first of these movies to cross that top tier threshold. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.